Hi guys, Jennifer here with Edible Sugar Art. Today we are going to be using the FlexFrost sheet from Icing Images in rose gold to be making our flour for our cakes. So as you can see, these sheets come on an acetate background, and if you just gently grab a corner, you can start peeling it right off the sheet and they are ready to use. Here I have a little sample, and you can see this just kind of bends up and you can stretch it back out. It goes back to its normal shape. So to begin, we are going to take a foam ball. I think this one is about 3/4 of an inch, and a stick. You can use a lollipop stick, a floral wire, a wooden dowel, and we just insert it into the ball, and I use a little drop of hot glue to ensure that it doesn't come out while I'm working. Next, we're going to take our scrapbook punches. I have a 1 inch, a 1.5 inch, and a 2.5 inch. Preferably, I would have preferred a 2 inch for the next step up, but this is what we had on hand, so this is what we're going to use. You begin cutting your pieces the exact same way you would if you were doing a scrapbook. You just slide your sheet in, punch it down, and you get your different little size circles depending on the size punch that you used. You can leave it on the acetate sheet and punch it out if you would like. However, then you have to peel each little circle, the backing off of each one. So I have a tray of circles already stamped out and ready to go. I'm using a little bit of Fondex glue and also a little bit of water on my brush. At first, I will just take the Fondex glue and gently put a layer on the ball. This is what's going to adhere the FlexFrost sheets to the ball. So for the first layer, we're going to use 3 of the 1-inch circles, and we're going to place them on the ball, and we're going to overlap them as we go around. They are going to stick up a little bit on the bottom until we come back with our water and kind of smooth it down. But here you can see we're placing one underneath the next, and you want it to kind of close up on the top where the point of the rose is. Once you have them where you would like them, come back with your water and get the petals a little bit wet on the bottom side so they begin to take the shape of the ball. You don't want to get them too wet because they will start to disintegrate, but you want them wet enough that they form to the ball. And there you go, you can see our first 3 petals starting to take shape and starting to adhere to the ball. You can also use your edible glue for this. However, I do like water for this part to kind of soften the petal. We're going to repeat this process on the next layer, except using 5. We're going to come in where the 2 petals meet and overlap. We don't want to start our row in the exact same spot that we started the first time, so each time it's going to overlap. Next, we're going to move up to our slightly larger size. This is our 1.5 inch. And we are going to start our next row doing the same thing. We want to overlap and go all the way around. And once the petals are on the flower, we're just going to take our water and soften the bottom edges of the petals again so that they become more flexible and adhere to the base. And just keep working your way around the flower, making sure you start at the crease and overlap each petal. And you can see our flower is starting to take form and look like a pretty little rose. We're just going to continue around, kind of shaping our flower and putting on more layers. You can continue adding as many layers as you like. You just want to make sure that you are putting a little bit of water on the base of them and continue to adhere them to the ball or to the other petals underneath as you go around. And you can see we're still overlapping where the crease of the petals meet on the layer underneath it. So I like how this is starting to come together. Now we want to start giving our petals a little bit of movement, and to do that we're just going to kind of pinch the bottom of the petal together. As you can see, I'm bending it a little bit here, and then we are going to tack it down with water in that bended position, and so it's going to start giving the petals a little bit of movement for each one. This is just a slight bend that we're going to go back and do to some of them, It doesn't need to be anything overly dramatic, but you can see a little bit of a bend, and then put it down with some water and it kind of holds that shape and gives the petal a little bit of a ruffle and free movement. And here we're just going to keep doing the same thing. Place it on, add a little bit of water. You don't have to bend each petal, just a couple that you think are going to look natural and give the flower some flow. And you can see how quickly this process goes. It only takes a few minutes to punch out your different size shapes. And then you can just, once you get the hang of it, just continue to turn the flower, place on your petal, turn the flower, place on your petal, and it goes really fast. Now we're going to come up and use our 2.5 inch cutter to punch out these circles, and then I cut them in half. And what we're going to do is the same exact thing. We're going to bring them and put them on here, except the corners aren't going to touch the flower all the way down at the base. So here we crinkle it a little bit in the middle and give it a nice pinch, and then place it down on the flower. And then we'll come back with our water, and as you can see, the edges, kind of those little points, aren't going to come down all the way to the base. They're kind of going to adhere to the petal underneath them versus down near the stick, but that is okay because the next ones are going to cover it as well. And trying to block the light here so you can see it, how that corner is not all the way down at the base but adhered to the flower or the petal underneath it. And we're just going to keep repeating this process, making sure each one of these is pinched before we place it on. And this actually just creates a nice layer. You can actually do a couple layers of this one, however you would like, and just go all the way around the flower with it. Now we're going to come up to our largest size hole punch again, and this time we're going to leave them whole. We're not going to cut them in half. And you can see they're super easy to pop out. You don't want to cut more than one at a time because they can stick together down inside the punch. So we're just going to add some water all over the base of the flower, but this time we're going to pinch the entire petal. And you can actually, if it's a little too large like this one, I probably should have trimmed the edge off to bring it in a little closer, but we didn't. But for each petal, we're just going to pinch it together to give it that movement, and then we're going to add it to the flower. And this one will come all the way down to the base, and it'll kind of cover those points that we left on the petal leaves from the other one as well. And we're just going to repeat this all the way around the flower, making sure we bend each one nicely to get that movement. And you can do as many layers of this if you would like, depending on how full you would like your flower. And there it is, guys. You can see how it looks. It's very flexible. It stays nice and soft and able to move around. You don't have to worry about your petals shattering and breaking. And there it is. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. We are going to have another tutorial coming up this week on our other garden rose, and so make sure you tune in for that one. This cabbage rose is my favorite one to make with the FlexFrost sheets. So make sure you follow us on Facebook or on our page, sign up for our newsletter so you can get updates of when our tutorial comes out for the cabbage rose.